If you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or like you're failing in motherhood, Jesus actually addresses that, and it's not in Proverbs 31, it's in Luke 10. Welcome back, friends. If you're new here, my name is Michelle, and I am a homeschooling mama to 4 kiddos, ages 14 all the way down to my 1-year-old. In this channel, I love to share all things motherhood, as well as my faith journey and what I am learning as I go. My hopes for this channel is just for us to learn and grow together. For today's video, I wanted to share what I got out of my Bible study this morning while I was studying the book of Luke, and it is the story of Mary and Martha. So if you're not familiar with the story of Martha and Mary are actually good friends of Jesus. They are the siblings of Lazarus, which Jesus raises from the dead later on. But right now, Jesus is staying at their house, and Martha is taking this very seriously. She wants to make sure that she is a good host. So she is doing all the things that she needs to do to make sure that Jesus feels loved and comfortable and feels welcome in her home. Meanwhile, her sister Mary is not doing as much. She is hanging out with Jesus and just listening to all that he has to say. So let's go ahead and jump right into the scripture and see what it says. So I am reading from the Christian Standard Version, and it is from Luke 10, verses 38 to 42, and it says, "Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me.' But the Lord answered her, 'Martha, Martha, you're anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her.'" Now, a lot is actually going on in this one passage, but I want to focus on one verse that we're going to pull out and go deep into, and that verse is verse 40. So verse 40 says, "But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me.'" So let's go ahead and dive into that for 1 second. So going back, let's look at that word distracted. Now, the Greek meaning for distracted means pulled away, dragged around, mentally torn, occupied to the point of strain. So it's not just about multitasking, it's being internally split. So in the Jewish culture, hospitality was a matter of honor and respect and social reputation. So in hosting Jesus, Martha was experiencing a whole lot of pressure. She was experiencing pressure of cultural expectations, personal standard, social duty, love of Jesus, and desire to honor. But the thing is that when we start to pile up these expectations on top of ourselves, service becomes strain, worship becomes work, and joy becomes a duty. Now, for most women, especially moms, we don't need someone to explain Martha to us. Most days, we are Marthas. Especially if you have little ones running around, someone always needs something from you. They need a toy, they need a snack. If you have multiple kids, there's probably a fight going on that you need to go handle. We're constantly being pulled in a million and one directions. And the thing is that distractions aren't always from bad things either. Things that distract us can be good, holy, and necessary things. For example, keeping a home, educating our kids, running a business, and caring for our family. These are all good, holy things. The enemy doesn't need to tempt us with rebellion, just with relentless busyness. Busyness can keep us from Jesus just as effectively as blatant sin can if we let it. Now let's go back to that verse again. "But Martha was distracted with serving, and she went up to him and said, 'Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me.'" So now Martha has gone from serving to being frustrated. She's frustrated that she is the only one doing all of this work. And then what happens is that same frustration now has turned to comparison. She says, "Do you not care that my sister?" So her eyes are no longer on Jesus. Now they're on her sister. Comparison always creeps in when our service becomes our measure of value. This is a big one for mom because motherhood makes service visible. In motherhood, so much of what we do is outward. And these can be little things like home cooked meal, potty training, homeschooling our kids, sleep schedules, activities that you do around the house, your home routines. All of these are visible things. And all of these become metrics without us even realizing it. And when service starts to become a metric, comparison comes naturally. Because if I'm measuring my motherhood by what I produce, the natural next step is to compare my motherhood with someone else's motherhood and what they're producing. And this couldn't be more apparent with today's culture, with the beautiful joy of social media, where we have everyone's life right in our fingertips and we can just scroll on and see all of the beautiful photos of the perfect homeschool day, the perfect day in the life. Inevitably, we fall under that comparison trap, whether we want to or not. When we internalize the idea that good moms do more, we start to believe that. We believe that more equals better and less equals failing. And that framework creates a quiet scoreboard in our mind. She's more organized than me. Her kids are more well-behaved than mine. They're ahead academically. She cooks from scratch. She keeps her house spotless. She seems happy all the time. And notice how every statement is rooted in observable performances. But Jesus never called us to perform. He called disciples to abide. Now, when we go back to Martha, her serving had turned into frustration. Her frustration turned into comparison, and then her comparison turned into resentment. She felt resentment towards her sister because she felt alone in it. And motherhood has this way of creating these hidden burdens. But Jesus didn't rebuke Martha. He acknowledged those feelings that she had. Jesus sees the invisible emotional labor of motherhood. Martha is not just serving. She wants her service to be seen. That's why she goes to Jesus and she tells him, "Lord, do you not care?" And hidden right there in that message is the ache that all of us mothers feel at some point or another. Does anyone see? Does anyone care? Does any of this matter? I don't know about you, but oh my goodness, how many times I have said those words. How many times have I been on the ground crying in tears, seeing those same things? Like, does anybody care? Is what I'm doing matter? And the thing is that when our value is tied to service, any lack of recognition feels like a lack of worth. And thank goodness that our worth is not in the things that we do. It is in how Jesus sees us. When we feel out of control, our first question is always, God, do you care? And we see that again in Mark 4:38, when the disciples are in the middle of the sea and they're in the boat and the boat is starting to sink. There's a big storm and Jesus is just there, relaxed, taking a nap. And the disciples tell him, God, do you care? Like, we're about to sink. Do you care? And that's our first go-to when things seem out of place and out of control. Like, are you there, Lord? Do you care about what is going on here? Right after that, she says, my sister left me to serve alone. Left me. Overwhelm breeds loneliness even in a room filled with people. Moms, how many times have you felt alone in a room filled with people? I have 4 kids. I homeschool. I'm never alone. Yet, I have felt a loneliness that I never even knew was possible. And I know that there's many, many moms that have felt that same type of loneliness. Motherhood can put us in rooms filled with people, our kids, our husbands, our church, our mom groups, and yet we can still feel profoundly alone inside. Because while our hands are busy serving, our minds are fighting battles that nobody else sees. And that's exactly where Martha is. She's not just serving, she's battling. Scripture says that she is distracted by much serving. But when Jesus responds, he doesn't list all of the external things. He cuts right to the internal soil where everything else is growing from. He names two things, anxious and troubled, because anxiety and inner turmoil are the soil where everything else starts to take root. The resentment, the comparison, irritation, the sense of invisibility, even the loneliness. When the inside is unsettled, the outside feels unbearable. But Jesus isn't after behavior modification. He doesn't tell Martha, Martha, do less, or Martha, get it together. He goes straight to the heart and names the root, because until the root is touched, nothing else changes. Now, Martha is battling a lot of things here just in that one verse. She's battling anxiety when we hear that word distracted. She's battling self-imposed pressure by much serving. She's battling resentment towards her sister. She's battling that loneliness of being left to serve alone. She's battling doubt, asking herself, Lord, do you not care? And she's battling being out of control. But out of all those things, Jesus only names two of them. In the next verse, he tells her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and you are troubled. The correction that Jesus gives Martha was not stop serving. It is choose first what nourishes your soul. Service from an anxious heart leads to burnout. Service from a nourished heart leads to joy. Now, when we look at Mary, Mary teaches us something about pace. She's praised for her priority. The key discipleship order in the kingdom is this: presence and then service, abiding and then fruit, receiving and then pouring out. Service is good, needed, and God honoring, but it is not the one necessary thing. Jesus says, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. And that good portion is Jesus himself. Now, with motherhood, that devotion to Jesus can look different from season to season. When you have a newborn, the way you sit at Jesus's feet may be through a prayer at 2 a.m. in the morning while you're rocking your baby to sleep. When you have teenagers, it may look like long conversations about faith while you're washing the dishes while everyone else is asleep. When you're homeschooling, it could be doing devotionals with your kids in the morning before you jump into the rest of your schoolwork. When you're exhausted, it may mean turning to him to quiet all the noise instead of running to something else. The point is, all of those things are different, but they all revolve around the one thing. The one thing is not silence. The one thing is not more free time. The one thing is not a clean Bible study hour. The one thing is not more productivity. The one thing is not a clean house. The one thing is Jesus himself. And when Jesus is the one thing, everything else falls into order. But when everything else becomes the one thing, Jesus gets pushed to the side. A lot of us say that we just don't have time to sit with Jesus. But the truth is, we don't have time not to. When we skip the presence, we miss the peace. I hope that this spoke to you and encouraged you. If you hear some noise, I apologize for that. My little guy woke up and he is now upstairs running around with his siblings, so sorry for that. But if you made it this far and you have not done so already, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the little notification bell so that you're notified when a next video pops up. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. I read every single one of them, so I would love to be able to get to know you more. Let me know what you got out of this video. And thank you so much again for spending this time with me. I will see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.